All right. Well, welcome to Wednesday Night Wisdom Share Sacred Practices. Thanks for being here tonight, whether you're here in person or whether you're online. We're so glad to have you. We're really excited tonight to have Jeff Kingfisher sharing Dancing with Harmony, Dancing with What Is. Of course, he always inspires me so much. I mean, his level of awareness, and you're going to have and his the way the science and music and spirituality combines it in such a beautiful way. So we're really excited to have him tonight. Thank you, Jeff, for being here. I'll let him. He'll tell you all else that's going on. So we're excited about that. So next week we have. Where is it? There it is. We have Peter Bedard, and Peter Bedard is going to be sharing something called Lessons of Pain, and it's about pain is a great teacher. That pain is calling us to live even bigger, more involved life when we learn to hear its messages from a wiser perspective, in a wiser way. Peter has gone through his own personal healing and had tremendous pain from an accident and fibromyalgia, and he's had a number of different issues that he's healed from. And so he is really good. And he wrote a book called The Convergence. Let me see if I can find name of his book, I'm sorry. Convergence Healing. So he'll be talking next Wednesday. So we're excited to have him. He really he's a wonderful facilitator too. So he'll be very interesting and inspiring to hear. So the following week, I'm actually going to be sharing with Kitty Christensen. It's called Compassion to Action, Spirituality and the Environment, and activism from a place of oneness. That means it could be activism, could just be, recycling, but it could be much bigger than that. And so as a community, we're going to kind of engage our community at large, and also hopefully community at large here in the greater Palm Springs, Coachella Valley. I already am the co-chair for the Riverside County Climate Reality Project, and so we're going to be kind of talking about some of that and see how our community can actually help with some of these major policy changes we're trying to make here in our local valley, and how we could do that individually, locally, and ultimately statewide, and ideally nationwide. So some exciting stuff. So I really encourage everyone to come. Tell your friends. We're going to do a really nice presentation around all of that. It's going to be educational and spiritual. So please come join us for that. Last week, we have 5 Wednesdays this month. We have Reverend Eunice Chalfant, who's right here. And she's going to be doing something called Accessing the Wonderful Wizard Within. Doesn't that sound like fun? And we're going to use oracle cards. You can bring your own, and she's going to have many that we're going to pull from. And it's going to be kind of an interactive evening and fun. And we're going to do it's a really interesting way of kind of tapping into your own inner wisdom through these cards and oracles. Did you want to share anything else about that, Reverend Eunice? No. Oh, we'll have stations set up around so you can kind of sample many different things. Okay, cool. That sounds like fun. I remember that now. Yeah, we did that last time. That was wonderful. That was really, really wonderful. It was really fun and playful and very insightful. I think we came together and shared then too, didn't we? After that, yeah. So that's what's going on this month for Wednesday Night Wisdom Shared Sacred Practices. Just a couple of announcements as far as the center is concerned. We're so grateful for all your loving donations that help support our beautiful spiritual community, our building, and all the things that we have to do to take care of. And we believe as a community that prosperity and abundance is, we step into the flow from our giving of time, talent, and treasure. And so that idea, that truth, that practice actually also comes with sharing as we support our center financially. So there's a couple ways you can donate to the spiritual center. It's at cslps.org. You can go on our website, and there's a little drop down right there. You can just click on that, or you can go text to give, and you can use that right from your cell phone. Text to give. It's 760-389-1333. 760-389-1333. And then you just type in your dollar amount, and then you just type in the word wisdom after that, and it'll go right to Wednesday night. We also give a portion of our Wednesday Night Wisdom Share donations to our facilitators. We want to make sure that we didn't do some of that during COVID because everyone was we were offering, but now we're starting to do that again. So we're excited about that. So let's start with a nice little centering practice and get us settled and centered, open and receptive as we create some space for ourselves to just stop everything and to be here now in this moment, breathing this breath. I invite you to take a few conscious breaths right now and just noticing your own body breathing. As we give ourselves permission to just stop everything and to be here now in this moment, breathing this breath. If anything at all has been bothering you today, in any way or any level, just imagine setting it outside the building now. Whatever you need to take care of or work on or address, we can do that later. We're going to give ourselves this time this evening. We don't have to fix anything, figure anything out, analyze or judge anything about ourselves or anybody else or the world. As we create this space, we align in the vibration of peace. And just breathing into the center of peace at the core and center of our very being. As we quiet and still our mind, we align in the sanctuary of the heart, a center of peace, a place of refuge within. Just allowing ourselves to breathe into this vibration of peace, this peace that is always here in the present, in this moment. And as we quiet and still our mind and align in this vibration of peace, we tap into a deeper wisdom, a wisdom that is always here, an ancient wisdom that's in and through all of life, and it is here right now, within each of us. We open up to this wisdom now, as we throw the doors wide open to the infinite possibilities, knowing that each one who is here this evening is here on purpose, that each one of us is here to hear exactly what we need to hear, for our own soul path, for our own life. In this place of silence and openness and receptivity, I know that each one of us is here on purpose, that we're creating and co-creating a sacred space, sacred circle, whether you're here in person or online. I know that this tapping into the sacredness aligns us in the divine wisdom that is much deeper and vaster than the intellect. I know this is true for Jeff also, that he's tapping in to something much deeper and vaster, that this energy and vibration, this divine presence is working in him, as him, and through him this evening, and shines through him in ways that he's planned, but also in unexpected ways. And so we throw the doors wide open now to the infinite possibilities as we now allow this evening to unfold in perfect divine order. So with a great sense of joy and excitement, expectancy, we release this, we give it to Spirit, we let Spirit have its way, and we say together, and so it is. To bring our attention back to the present moment, back to each other. So I'm going to hand it over here to Jeff as soon as he makes his way over here.
Here I am, okay.
Hey,
I'm speaking. I can be heard, I can be heard, right. I can be heard. Okay.
I do have an email just in case if you want to sign up for the email for the newsletter. If you don't get the newsletter, I'm going to have a little pad over there. And also, if you're online, you can shoot us an email. Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you. Hello, everybody. Welcome, welcome. Thanks for coming on by. Tonight I'm planning on doing some musorical casting. I think probably we've all done that here, have we? You guys haven't done it? Oh, well, you will. It's a cool thing. It's something I do with these music-based cards and dice. And it's a creative tool, and we all find You get to choose a casting ahead of time, and then whatever comes up, we all find our own stories in it, and we share it if we like. And it's all music-based, and I get to go over there and play what it sounds like. So that's how we'll end the evening. But what I'd like to start with is I'd like to talk a little bit about consonance and dissonance, both in music and in life. Consonants meaning musical notes or people or circumstances that fit together in a pleasing, harmonious kind of way is consonance. And dissonance being musical notes or people or circumstances that are not necessarily pleasant at all. Here, I'll play what they sound like. You guys know what they sound like. But this might be consonance. That's consonance, and this might be dissonance. So I've been really interested in this because there's obviously so much dissonance going on in the world right now. And the way that sound and music unfold in nature, and I'll talk a little bit about that, the way that sound organically unfolds in nature tells us a lot about the lawfulness of consonance and dissonance. It's lawful the way that they appear. And I've been wondering, could understanding that be helpful in some way? Could it help us plow through all this in some way? Because we're all feeling it. We're all feeling it. And I don't, personally, I'm sure you're with me. I mean, I really don't want it to run me over, and I often feel like it is. I feel overwhelmed by what's been going on in the world and going on in myself because of it, even more than usual. But I want to be able to navigate through it, certainly. But beyond that. The question I've been asking, is there some way that I can use it? Is there some way that this dissonance and me engaging with it, is there some way that it could help me understand myself, help me understand the world, do something for the good? Could it actually be used for the good, for my own good, for the common good? So I've been really been tripping on this for about 3 weeks, and it's taken me to all kinds of interesting places, and I will share a couple with you. I don't usually work with notes here, but I took some notes here because I had so much stuff. I was afraid I'd get off on some tangent. It's, an hour and a half went by, sorry. So I'll just get started here. First of all, a man whom I consider one of my teachers, though he passed 11 years before I was born, is Gurdjieff, George Ivanovich Gurdjieff. And what he said about times like these was this: the worse the conditions of life, the more productive the work, always provided you remember the work. Does that make sense? Do you kind of follow what I'm saying there? What he's saying, what he's talking about is the work being work on ourselves, becoming more self-aware, more present, our spiritual work, and all that goes with it. That these kinds of times can be really, really productive, but we have to remember the work, and not just remember it intellectually. We could say, oh yeah, I remember that this can be good for me. And oh yes, I remember these kind of experiences can be learning experiences. That doesn't really cut it. You can still get run over by them by saying that, just by talking the words, but by actually engaging in those processes, actually engaging in self-observation and centering and making efforts towards a deeper presence and grounding and meditating, having a practice, in other words, having a practice, that these can actually be very, very valuable times. And he also speaks of two kinds of suffering. First, suffering as we normally think of it, the normal, ubiquitous, tragic misery that we see around us, all the time. It's always there. Suffering is always there to be seen. That feeling of being run over. And then he speaks of conscious suffering, which is a different thing altogether. And that's an eyes open dive into our own pain and misery and that of the world around us. And really seeing from a quiet core, a quiet detached core, the attachments and the fears within us and around us, just seeing that and being with it. And so this is the idea of conscious suffering, of actually, does that make sense, what I'm saying here? And so, and beyond that, my words about that is then allowing what we see to actually break our hearts, so that our inner light might shine through the cracks and manifest in the world as healing, conscious, compassionate action. We hear a lot about, when we're broken, it's the cracks that let the light in. But I think also that the crack can also let the light out. Does that make sense? You follow where I'm at with that? So this question, can dissonance be useful? It's really an upper layer of a much deeper question that we're probably all asking, which is, how shall I live? How shall we live? How shall we get there? How shall we get to this place of healing, conscious, compassionate, moving through the world? How do we do that? And consonance and dissonance and bittersweet, our attachments to those things, our avoidances of them, our beliefs about them. I think that's a way in. I think that's a door. I think there's a lot of ways in from a lot of different places, and I think we need to have more than one. But this is the one I've been chasing this week. So that's my long-winded introduction. One of the things, a couple things I want to touch on, I think, before I go into actual consonance and dissonance, is there's a couple of concepts I'd like to touch on, and we're probably familiar with them here. They're in science of mind for days, if you guys are in science of mind, familiar with science of mind concepts. But who knows, the people in TV land may not be familiar with these. And I think it was important for me to revisit them and really consider them when I was looking at this question. And those two are eminence and individuation is what they are. And imminence, start with that one. Let me see where we are here. Have I lost my notes? Possibly. Okay. No, they didn't print properly. That's okay. That means stop looking at your notes. Good, we'll take that. The idea of immanence is that there's a singular, unified source from which all existence flows forth. And some people, this is also the core of pantheism also, which is very much kind of what science of mind is part of a pantheistic thinking. But whenever, at the end of every cosmic question that we are able to answer, there's always another question. where did that come from? Does that make sense? It's like, we started with molecules, atoms, and then we got into atomic particles, and we get into subatomic particles, and we know about all these kinds of things, but wherever you get to the end, and it's like, and that came from, and that came from, and that came from. So eventually, wherever we go, as far as we go, we're always left with this final question, and then what? And the answer is, I don't know. It's always, I don't know. So this source from which all springs is really unfathomable. We can't really know it. We can't really know what it is. But we can't help but be it. And this is where the immanence comes in, because what does it have to fashion existence out of other than itself? I mean, that's just the big question. I look at it with nature. It's like you say, well, where does nature get its raw material? From nature. The thing outside nature, right? My mic seems to be crapping out a little bit. Am I losing my thing? No, I'm not. There's nothing outside of nature. Similarly, there's nothing outside of God. We're all made of it. And so that's the idea of that. And also that this unfathomable source is also a unity. There's a oneness to it. Because you could say, well, wait, maybe there's two sources. What if there's two sources? What if there's three sources? How do you know? How do you know what's on the other side of that big blank question? And, well, maybe there are, but where'd they come from? I don't know. You keep coming back to this same kind of thing. And also, in terms of this unity, it's not just a mind game that we can play with ourselves. We know it when we meditate. Anyone who meditates knows it, that when we actually go to our quiet core center, when we get closer and deeper within ourselves, we feel closer to other people around us. We just feel closer to other people around us. That's meditators tend to be kind of more compassionate people, I think, because we become aware of our kinship with others and with all life around us because we're just being quiet enough to hear what's there. So we have this experience of unity and oneness. So that's immanence. Now, the next one is individuation. And like I said, I was really pondering these things because they're associated with this question I've been asking. Individuation is that we are all individual and unique emanations of the divine. Flowers on God's tree, as we might say, as the song says. Okay, it's my song, but let's see. Where do I had something cool about that? Maybe. Well, actually, what I wanted to talk about individuation, this gets a little far out and a little here, but kind of stay with me. When we think of individuations, we tend to think of wholes, HWHOLES, like me and like you. You are an individuation of God. I am an individuation of God. And that is so. But it's actually, we're a combination of different individuations, different intersecting individuations, and we're all intertwined with each other in this massive network of things. And for instance, one of the things I thought of was my hair, okay? My hair is an individuation. It's a thing. It's a thing. What's it made of? God, like everything you can tell, it really is. But it's this particular individuation would not exist if it wasn't for me. If I wasn't here, my hair wouldn't be here. Okay? So the way individuations kind of interconnect that way, when I consider my being as a whole, I consider my body, for instance. That's a big part of who I am, big integral part of who I am. Where did it come from? Really? It came from the earth. It came from the earth. It's dirt and water. It's what this is. So that if it wasn't for the earth, whatever I would be very, very different. I wouldn't be in this body here. And I'm just kind of touching on this because let's say, for instance, I invent a computer. I invent a computer. Now, that computer is now an individuation. What's it made of? It's made of God. Everything is made of God. But I made it. I made that. Does it have the same level of beingness as I do? It doesn't, does it? Really. It's not a human being. It doesn't have the same level of anything, really. And so when I look at the earth made me. Do I have the beingness and intelligence of the earth, of this entire planet? Do I have that? And I would have to say, no, I don't. We're all made of the same thing. But we're always looking for, is there greater intelligence in the universe? And we're standing on a greater intelligence. It's right here. We're right on it, you see? And I don't want to get too deep in this. When I was putting my notes together, I did have giant charts and whole things where I could get into all this stuff, and I promise I'm not going to do that. But the earth is actually a child of the stars, of one particular star, of our sun. And the suns are actually children of the galaxies, and the galaxy are actually children of the universe. So when we look at all these things, we see all these strata of this giving birth to that, giving birth to that, giving birth to that. And down here on the earth, there's the earth, and then there's the earth giving birth to us. And what I was going to share with this chart and everything actually comes from some of Gurdjieff's work. And it's a wonderful, wonderful thing just to dive into if you just feel like going on a trip somewhere. It's called the ray of creation, and he shows that lineage of universes to galaxies to solar system to stars to solar systems to planets to moons, etc. But the important thing about it is that what he shows is that the higher up, the closer you are to God, life at that level is finer in material and faster in vibration. And that the level that goes below it is denser and slower, and below that is denser and slower, and below that is denser and slower. If that's interesting to you, let me put it this way: if you, each one of those levels are individuations. A planet is an individuation. A star is an individuation. My hair is an individuation. You know, they're all different individuations, and what we really are thoughts. Just thinking is an individuation. Every word that I say is an individuation. They're all made of God. They all have their own energy. They're all intersecting with each other in this sort of vast matrix of ascending and descending levels of density and speeds of vibration. And we're all momentarily, as every moment goes by, we're different intersections of all of that. Does that make sense? It's pretty far out, I know. It's pretty far out. Anyway, I just wanted to put that out there because something really interesting happens. I'm moving over the piano now. I don't know if you can follow me over here. Is it bright enough over here, Mark? Can you see me? More or less? Okay. So let me ask this question. What is that? What is that? C. Hey, wow. We've got a bunch of perfect pitch folks in here. So yeah, it is a C, actually. It's a note, right? Is it individuation? Yes. What's it made of? Yes, ultimately. What's it made of? God. It's made of God, right? And we experience that as a single note. C, C, C. We all know that's a C. But what's happening really with that C is a whole lot more. And I've discussed this at my previous talks here, is that particular string in there. That's a string here. And when I hit that note, oops, I hit the one, that one. When I hit that note, that string vibrates. It vibrates. And it vibrates, makes a sound wave, and that sound wave goes like this and hits your ears, and your ears, and your ears. And we all say, see, ah, ba, ba, ba. You can sing it. But what's also happening is that string is vibrating at half its length twice as fast, making little tiny waves that are 1 octave higher. Actually, inherent in this sound is this one. It's in there. It's just really, really quiet. It's just really, really quiet. It's in there because that's what happens when you pluck a string or you hit it with a hammer. When it vibrates like this. It also vibrates like this. And that little extra vibration, extra note, makes a little extra. And a little extra note. It makes a little extra note. And so it also makes a whole bunch more little vibrations than that. Besides going at half its length twice as fast, it's going a third of its length 3 times as fast. 1/4 of its length 4 times as fast. 1/5 of its length 5 times as fast. It's just all those little movements are micro movements, and they're so tiny we can't hear them like separate notes. But what they do is they add color. They add color to that string. And the ones that actually, the volume of all of those little notes called harmonics, compared to the big one, the fundamental, the C, the volume of them in relation to that lets us know that it's a piano. If I played the same note on a guitar or a stringed instrument, a different stringed instrument, it would still be a C. And you hear a bump, but you'd know right away it was not a piano because the harmonics would be different. The harmonics are what tell us. But here's the thing. Those first 6 harmonics that we hear are consonant. Are consonant. The notes, those little quiet notes of those first 6 harmonics, these. That's inside every note, every sound. Every note, every sound, there's built-in consonants. Now, of course, we're listening to this on a piano, and we're listening to things in the range that we can hear them. But this law, this vibration law, works above the range of our hearing. And these harmonics appear in infrared and heat and light, things that we can see, all the way up into X-ray, gamma ray. I'm losing this mic here. I wonder if I should get another one. Are we still okay there, Mark? Okay, I'll try this a little longer. If it keeps cutting out, I'll grab another. Anyway, so we have this pattern that exists everywhere, and it's consonant. It's consonant. That's the first 6 harmonics. When the 7th harmonic appears, it sounds like this. We get a dissonance. We get a dissonance. This is what got me asking this whole line of questions. Dissonance is organic. It's organic. It occurs in nature. It occurs in nature. Is there anything that you can think of in nature that doesn't have a use? It must have a use. It must have a use. And when I think about what happens when we hear consonants, when we experience consonants, what is that? We feel satisfied, we feel peace, we feel relaxed, fulfilled. That's what happens when we hear one of these first 6 harmonics, when we hear this. Listen to that all day. But when we start hearing things like this, our experience or dissonances that are even sharper and uglier, when you start hearing those, it makes us feel uncomfortable, maybe upset, maybe shut that damn thing off. It's just, get me out of here. That's ugly. What an ugly noise that is. But a couple other things can happen. With consonants, if we're unconscious with consonants, we can start to fall asleep. We can get lazy. When things are really nice in life and everything's just so perfect and lovely, we can start to take things for granted and kind of fall asleep and forget about all the good things that we have and just stop looking and maybe miss things that are there that we ought to be seeing because we get lazy. We get lazy. As ugly as dissonance is, it makes us want to do something. It makes us want to move, you know? I mean, you can think about dissonance in life. It's like, I moved out of that apartment. It was too damn small. I mean, there was a dissonance. It was too damn small. What happened? I moved. I mean, that's the result of a dissonance, right? So they do have their function. And so the difference is it still comes back to consciousness again. When we're faced with consonants and when we're faced with dissonance, how present are we? Are we conscious? Are we conscious of what's going on in the bigger picture? And that's always is a better place to be. But I'm wondering still, as I got there, it's like, is that enough? Is that enough? When I'm experiencing dissonance, when I'm right in the soup, something ugly's happening. And is it enough just to know this stuff? Is it enough to know that I'm being led someplace else? And maybe in the longer term, it is enough for me to know. Maybe it'll really help me. I can meditate on that and contemplate that and find a way through, and it will be helpful. But is there something else? Is there something else? And just like yesterday, while I was tripping on this, something happened, and it occurred to me. Something came to me, and it's this. In music and in sound, there's something called noise. Now, we all know what noise is. Noise in general conversation could mean a million things. What's that noise? It's the door, it's the dog barking, whatever. But noise in music and in sound is a specific thing. You might have heard of it: white noise, pink noise, brown noise, all frequency noise. What it really means is it's a bunch of frequencies all right next to it that are played all at the same volume. And so, I mean, we're to do something similar to the piano, sound like this, you know, when you hear all frequency noise, it sounds like this, kind of like static. It's an ugly sound. It's an ugly sound. And then, so that's one thing, the noise. And the other thing is rhythm. We haven't really talked much about rhythm, but rhythm is that thing that happens on the piano with those harmonics, with the 2-to-1 and 3-to-1, if we slow vibration down from 440 times a second at A, and we slow it way down to 60 times a minute, like this, and we apply those same numbers that are in sound, we have rhythm. We have rhythm. So that's also lawful. Rhythm is lawful. So what if we took this noise and then we took rhythm on top of it? But the rhythm actually was just an awful rhythm that you couldn't even keep track of. It was like a beat here, another one over here. So there's this jerky, weird rhythm that you could never find any place to hold on to. And then noise. That sounds horrible. It would be a horrible thing. So I was thinking, and it's like, well, okay. So I recorded some of it. And here's what it sounds like. Brace yourselves. That's exactly what that is. An undiscernible rhythm and all frequency noise. Does it make you uptight? It doesn't, does it? It doesn't. And what came to me about this, when we go to the beach, when I go to the beach and I hear the ocean waves and what that's doing, I surrender to it. I surrender to it. No, I can't find a pitch in those waves. I can't sing along with them. There's a rhythm going, I can't possibly tap my feet to it. So I just don't. And what is making that sound? What's making that sound is the earth interacting with the sun and the moon. The source of that sound is way, way bigger than me and my local issues. You see what I mean? And so what I do is I go there and you just, let it go. Just let it go. And the words that come to me, well, at least when I hear the ocean sound, is, okay, Mom, just hold me. Just carry me. That's the feeling. That's the feeling. That can be a very, very healing thing. And it doesn't necessarily have to be the ocean. It could be the wind blowing through palm leaves or cicadas in the trees that we have here. It's unpredictable. It's coming from a place bigger than me. And that's why I was talking about that individuation stuff before. The earth and all of creation, really, all these things that brought me to where I am right now, they're really big. They're really big and strong. The earth is really big and strong. And she will carry you. You don't have to carry all that dissonance yourself. You don't have to carry all that burden. You can just relax into it and be carried by that. Does that make sense to you? It's been a really powerful thing. I started using it. Today I went to Kofi this morning, had my morning Joe, and I had some dissonance there because I've been watching this. I've been working with it, right? And I got there, and as I was walking in the coffee house, there was a guy that snaked me right in front of me, and I was like, okay, just stop. Then he held the door open for me. I was like, oh, that's nice. And then he held it again. It's like, oh, okay, go ahead. And then he's like, no, you go ahead. I was like, oh, you sure? So there's this whole interplay of consonance and dissonance. Oh, that's lovely. Oh, that asshole. Oh, that's lovely. Oh, how dare you? Oh, that's lovely. So I'm doing this whole thing right this. And then I get to it. I order my coffee. I go sit down. And the guy back there making the coffees has this gigantic phone order, I suppose. And he doesn't get to my coffee for like over 5 minutes. My cup is sitting up on top of the coffee machine. And I was like, okay, I'm not in a hurry, but I don't have all day. But what I started to do was I remembered the sound of the sea. And while I was doing that, the closest way that I could get to it is I started to breathe. I started to follow my breath, and it feels a lot like the sea. And it reminded me of that. And something really interesting happened. It wasn't only me remembering the sea, everything started to change in the room as my perception of it. And everything that was going on in that room. The guy over there busy trying to make all those coffees, me waiting, everybody else waiting, people coming and going, all these sort of things. It was all like the sea. It was all like the sea because everything that's going on at any given moment is bigger than me and part of something larger. It's part of something much larger. It's part of life on earth. And there's a way that I was actually able to get to that place. I wasn't trying to get there. It's just by imagining the sound of the sea and remembering that larger sense and that I'm being carried and that feeling. I know that's a little maybe far out, but it was an extraordinary thing. And I've been kind of using it off and on all day. So that's what I came up with consonants and dissonance. I hope that's helpful to you. Maybe if you want to give it a shot, when next time you hear the sea, either in person or even on a recording, or wind in the trees, just surrender to it and allow this sense of being connected to something larger and feeling this intersection with all life at the same time, and just allowing that unpredictable breath to carry you. So that's what I've got. Okay. So hope that made sense. Hope that made sense. So should we do some musical casting? Okay, I'm going to grab a chair because I want to. Oh. Okay, I'm going to move this over because we don't need to look at that anymore. Okay, there we go. Mm-hmm.
Transcending the individuations to the oneness,
Mm-hmm.
inclusion. So there's an included all aspect. This goes right along with what I'm going to be talking about in seven.
Oh, good.
So I think you were getting tonight.
Oh, good. Yeah, I'm glad you found something in that, and I was having kind of a hard time talking about it. It's because it's edgy. It's right at the edge of something I'm working on, So, but yeah, I'm glad you got something from that. Yeah, it's transcendent. It is transcending the individual, but it's also it's including at the same time. That's what you're talking about, right? Yeah, gotcha. Yeah. So, we got a couple folks who haven't had the musorical experience before. The musorical is an invention of mine. It's an 89 card deck, and all the cards are based on music and musical concepts and musical instruments and things like that. And it comes with 12-sided dice. The the full musical set comes with 12 of these white dice, which have solfege on them, like do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. And then it comes with one of these black dice called a musician's die, and it's got pitches like C, D, E, F, G, etc. And we put these things together, and what they do is they give elements of story. They give elements of story, and I do a lot of this sort of reading for people. I also do music baths with people that are based on these castings, that start with these. And I don't really call myself a reader so much as a facilitator, because I don't actually tell people what they mean. The cards are based on sounds and keywords and very sort of open-ended concepts, and you find meaning in them yourself. I let people find their own story in it, and people inevitably have a story to tell. And as I said last time we did this, I say that I invented them, but actually every time I read for someone, they tell me what they mean, because there's something different every single time that if I were coming up with it, I'd never come up with it, because it's not my story. So anyway, what I do here is I choose number 1 and number 2 and number 3. I do these short little one-up castings, just one position, 1 card and 2 dice. And I do 1, 2, and 3, and everybody picks 1, 2, or 3 ahead of time, and then I read them and see what you can find. So that's what we do. That's what we do. And normally, these, originally, for the longest time, these castings were very, very personal. Just one person on one like this. But during the pandemic, when I was doing these shares and we're trying to get people, how are we going to do this? I started doing it this way. And it's turned into a whole thing of casting for groups of people, because we end up, as you'll see, kind of all telling each other's our story and all somehow kind of telling the same story. It's an interesting thing that happens. So let's find out. Let's see what goes on. So I would like us all to choose, all of us and our friends online in television land, to choose casting 1 or 2 or 3. We got one? Everybody got one? Okay. I got one too. Okay, so let's go with casting number 1 and see what we have. Okay, we are in the key of A sharp ascending, and the solfege die is Fa, as in Do, Re, Mi, Fa, and the card, an accompanist of voices. Okay, let's go to number 2. Key of D, D descending. They're ascending or descending, depending on which way the die is pointing when it lands, by the way. So I come up with that. The note is Te, which is not one of Do, Re, Mi, Fa, Sol, La, Ti, Do. If you're thinking about the white and black keys in the piano, that would kind of be one of the black keys, Te. Card, performance. The last one, B descending. And the solfege die here, lay. Okay, that's going to be here. A minor third of voices. Okay. Any number 1s in the class? Anyone choose number 1? Oh, there's one. Okay, very good. Okay, this is in the key of B flat ascending. A sharp ascending. Same note, different way of naming it. And here's what that key sounds like. At least tuning of this piano. And here's your note. Do, re, mi, fa. So, what might we pull from that? The key of A is the third eye. chakra-wise. It's the third eye chakra. And the key of B is the crown chakra. So when we have A sharp, we're actually looking at energy moving up through the chakras, from the crown, from the third eye to the crown. So the metaphor for that is transcending thought. It's transcending thought. The thinking, the things that we know. Moving above that, getting to the crown, does that make sense to you? Yes. I'm sorry, what? Yes, something more vast, something more inclusive than our localized thinking, maybe, right? And the point of fa going up is revelation. It's a point of revelation. In an ascending scale, which you're looking at, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, re, mi, fa. Do, re, mi, the old do, re, mi, that's, do is intention, where we set our intent. Re is resistance, reactivity, response. It's kind of like after we make an intention, the first thing we run into is resistance when we step out the door. And mi is the effort required. Do, re, mi. When you get to fa, the true nature of what's at hand becomes revealed. Do you know how when you start to do something and you're working on something, you set an intention, you meet the resistance, you meet the resistance, and then you're doing the effort and you're doing the gig like that, and suddenly you realize that, this isn't what I thought it was going to be. This is actually not what I was thinking it was going to be. This is really about this. That's this point. This is like the true nature being revealed. So then we have the card, and the card is a lovely card, the accompanist of voices. Voices as a suit. There's 5 suits, instrument family suits, brass, woodwinds, strings, percussion, and voices. And voices is the spiritual suit, the element of ether. It's like the 5th element in the film, right? In the movie. And an accompanist is all about service, serving others. So one of the key words for the accompanist of voices is the bodhisattva. It's the bodhisattva. It's actually serving others in a spiritual capacity. Serving others in a spiritual capacity. So this is a pretty heady spiritual casting right here. You have transcending thought, true nature revealed, and serving others at a spiritual level. So, might that speak to you? I have a feeling it might. It does. It does. Mark recently came to a casting, a private casting studio, and you had an accompanist there as well. I remember, yeah. So it's all about service. It's all about service, sacred service, and with voices especially. So we've got that one there. And anybody else have any other thoughts about any of these things? Because any of these, you could pick one. This is completely open-ended, as you can see. You find what you want to find in it. If you find something in somebody else's casting, steal it. Go ahead. It's all good. It's all good. So, casting number 2. We have any number 2s? Ooh, wow, whole room full. Cool, okay. This is the key of D. The key of D is the sacral chakra, sometimes called the sex chakra. And it can be associated with intimacy and partnership. It can certainly be associated with that. But there's a very profound dimension to this one as well. It's creativity. It's creativity. Sacral chakra. Chakra number 2, the sex chakra. It is via the sex chakra that we actually become incarnate. All of us that have bodies here, the second chakra was involved. The sacral chakra was involved. And so what we're really looking at is the creative force appearing in the world in just a massive way, as in bringing life into the world. So really, the second chakra, I find that the second chakra is, it's always engaged. It's always engaged. You can feel it sort of below the navel, near the sex organs, below the navel, and in between in the back and the lower spine. And in the creative process, it's always engaged. It's sort of the profound aspect of creativity, really. So we're looking at creativity, and or possibly including intimacy and partnership. And this point, te here, is the point of effort required. When I was talking about this is the work that needs to be done creatively in this area, and it has to do with the performance card. Musically, what is performance? It means you're on, baby. The spotlight is on. It's your moment. Everyone's looking at you. It can mean that. It can also mean how well you're doing, like job performance. It can also mean that. It's an interesting card to work with, because when we perform, when we're in the spotlight, when it's our turn, and it doesn't have to be a theatrical production, be doing anything that's like, okay, what do you got? Speak, in anything like that. There's all kinds of things that come into play. All kinds of ego things that come into play. Shyness comes into play. Maybe insecurity. Any number of things can come into play. So we're looking at this profound creativity, effort required, and performance. What might there be? What does that speak to anybody? Does that speak to anybody's story? Is there some element of your own story that might speak to? Yes, please. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Ah. Mm. Yeah, yeah. Oh, thank you. Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes, for something to bubble up. Yeah. That's cool. That's very cool. Yeah, yeah, sure, sure. It sounds like from what you're talking about, it sounds like the effort required is the big question. Is like the emphasis here. It's like, what is that? What is that? I want this to appear, and you can't push, but you don't want but you don't want to let it go, right? So where are you going to go, right? Yeah, 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 yeah. Anyone else care to share? Any thoughts? No, don't have to, but we certainly can. Yeah, I picked number 2 also, but I'll go into mine later. Maybe. We'll see. Well, yeah, it's just, creativity, effort required, and performance. I mean, I'm a musician. So yeah, tapping into the creativity and the effort toward performance, it seems pretty obvious towards that. Actually, it actually speaks a lot towards an album that I'm producing right now. So, and performing the songs that are in that album. I mean, it tells in this particular case, and it doesn't always, but in particular, it tells a very musical story because, I'm a musician. So there you have it. So that's kind of where that one is for me. Who picked number 3? Okay. Well, this is a good one too. Again, this is the suit of voices again. This is the suit of voices again, and it's in the key of B descending. B, the key of B is the crown chakra, as I said before. B descending is download, baby. That's download. That's open at the top and it's coming in. That's B descending. And the point underneath it, this lay, ascending down here, L-E, lay, is the point of mechanicality. The point of mechanicality. I also said resistance. Sometimes it can also be resistance. What it really is, it's resistance. It could be a response. It could be reaction. I call it mechanicality because a lot of times when you make an effort at do, the next step that comes up is a kind of resistance, and a lot of times it's a mechanical response. A lot of times that's what comes up, I got to get out of bed. I don't want to. That's an example right there. I mean, just it could be something that simple, So it can refer. It can be that mechanical response, something unconscious, an unconscious response, something that hasn't been examined. That's not always a bad thing. A mechanical response to putting your hand on the stove is to take it off. So it's not always a bad thing to have a mechanical response, but it's like a reaction, and it's kind of a call to. When that point comes up, it's kind of a call to maybe examine this. Are there unconscious elements at play here? Is this reactivity, or is this a conscious response? It's kind of a question that you can ask when you get that point. And the card is a minor third of voices. Now, minor thirds are somber, and in the suit of voices. This sort of somber seriousness, the key word is sacrifice. This sacrifice. So what you have is crown chakra, download, response, possibly mechanical response, or conscious response, and sacrifice. And sacrifice. And it is in the suit of voices. It's a spiritual kind of sacrifice, Sometimes we think about, sacrifice, we think of it just of having to give something up that we don't want to. oh, I had to sacrifice that. But spiritual sacrifice is different. It's I'm going to give this up so I can get this. Right? Right? It's like, I don't know. I mean, in a very simple version of it for me might be, I like to smoke pot every night, but it messes with my meditation. So I don't do that. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. So it's like, you know what I mean? There's a reason for it. I'm giving something up with an end in mind. Giving something, maybe some creature comfort that is actually not something that it's the end. What it's creating is something I don't really want. So it's that. Here's our key here. And here's lay. The minor third. What do you think, Reverend? Find anything in that? Yeah, you don't have to share if you don't want.
No, I think it's really
Yeah.
coming back from my 2 weeks away, and really, I've been real aware that this is an ending of during the last 15 to 2 months to 2 years, right? There's been a kind of a laying back and just waiting to see what things are going to take place, and then responding, and now, okay, this is where we're going. I now have to step into leadership and chart. And there's a little bit of resistance, and it's an interview, not so much that there's not no issues up there. It's just that I kind of like it's the transition of now.
Mhm.
Now I gotta act. Now it's gonna just take more.
Mhm.
Playing on my part, more paying attention, more initiating, more work.
Mhm.
And it's like, I don't want summer to be over yet.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I want to sleep in 5 more minutes. I want to,
Mhm.
not be so structured. And there's been a little bit of resistance that I'm giving up my loosey, free-flowing kind of existence to, okay, if I want us to move forward as a community, it's time to initiate,
Yes. Yeah.
take action. So it's just an energetic shift. And it's kind of like this part of me that wants to sleep in for 5 more minutes.
Mhm. Yeah, oh, I hear you. I totally hear you. Yeah. And it's true, isn't it? Whenever we really have a desire and intent we want to follow, we always give up something else. We always give up something else. I mean, the hour between 8 and 9, if I want to accomplish something there besides drinking coffee and reading Facebook, I actually need to stop drinking coffee and I've got to give that up and read Facebook from 8 to 9 and do what I want to do. There's always something. There's always something to be sacrificed. And a conscious sacrifice is a good thing. It's a good thing. It's like, it's empowering. It's empowering, right? Yeah. So these were good. These were good. Yeah, let me play them a little bit, what we had here. No real harmony cards in this one. So we just have the key and the note of the card. That's our first one. And our second one. That one and this one. We're in this key. About her. Our third one. I'm sorry. like that. Sensibly good. It was good for y'all. It was good for me. And thanks for the shares, guys. It's and the engagement and listening to my ramblings about my talk at the beginning.
If someone wants to schedule a private casting setting,
Mm-hmm.
how do they do it?
Take my card. I'll put some up there. I
What if you're online? Can you do a private thing online?
I can. I'm looking forward to actually doing them online now. That was another thing during the pandemic. I thought, well, I guess I just have to give that up. And actually, it works really well online. I thought that if I'm not there actually talking to somebody and getting the vibe, and that is a nice thing to be able to do, but it works online too. And we all figured that out during the pandemic, right?
So online you would be, your contact information is,
Online, my contact information, I would just go to Seventh Harmonic, the7thharmonic.com. The Seventh Harmonic's the name of my place, my studio over in Palm Desert. And I do music baths in there too. I've got a whole room full of bowls and electronics and stuff. And we start out with one of these, and obviously, as you're working with these kinds of things, it opens up areas to work in. That's how I get started. So when we're doing a music bath, because the cards and the dice suggest something, and that's your story, and it suggests something musically, and the whole thing takes on a tone, and it becomes like this co-creating experience. It's a cool thing. So as we go, thank you guys. I appreciate you coming. The what now? The website is the7thharmonic.com. Yes, THESEVENTHHARMONIC, seventhharmonic.com. Thanks, guys. Thanks for coming. I'm going to give you one. Let me turn this off.